videos. I would like to apologize for the delay. It was caused because I had gone to science school and just came back in Vishu. And because of many assignments and many studies to do and also places to visit and people to visit, I actually couldn't upload a lot of videos. There were also some technical errors that happened in a previous video that I would have liked to upload. Now, I might upload it. It's about cancer and a treatment to it. Well, anyways, let's get back to the video. Well, before that, I would actually like to ask you to subscribe to my channel, share this video with your friends and family, like this video and turn on the notification button for more videos just like this one, because this is going to be another video about the life cycle of a few animals. So let's get on with the video. So guys, our first animal is going to be the tardigrades. Now, the tardigrades are also known as water bears. Now, why are they called this? Not exactly because they are furry creatures like the bears and stay in large water areas. Well, it's almost completely the opposite. You see, they do stay in water areas, but actually they are very small, almost to the microscopic level, and are not visible to the naked eye. The most adult or the growing adult or the last stage of the tardigrade, which is the full adult, full grown, is actually just 0.05 millimeters. Now that's very small. And also they are called bear or signified as a water bear because they are something like a bear. But they do have 8 legs and also they look like what you can call a worm with 8 legs. Now, whenever the tardigrades are born, they are born into a bubble or a water droplet which their mother has laid eggs in. Now, there is probably only one in a single water droplet, and that water droplet is that tardigrade's home. Now, once the tardigrade is born, it is actually fully equipped with everything that it needs. Only that it is lacking the size and the knowledge, which it will of course acquire during the years. Now, what is the first thing that it does? Well, actually, it starts waddling around in the water and the water moves with it. Now, a bit of water in and it will start going to multiple areas to feast upon many of the things like algae, etc. But a problem occurs, which is the scorching sun. After a rainy day, which actually had water, now it's having scorching sun, which actually is starting to evaporate the water. The tardigrade looks around and it actually finds its own water gone and evaporated. So, it actually uses one of its mechanisms called the tun state. The tun state is a state where its metabolism goes down almost to zero, and it, at this stage, can actually survive multiple things like the nuclear radiation, the vacuum of the space, pressures up to 6 times of the deepest trench. Can survive all this in this tun state. There are multiple tun states and I'll get to that. And another tun state or another moment when it goes to tun state is when any being like small worms that we find in our stomach or other things actually come and try to eat these tardigrades. Well, it's because they are in the same level. So, when these tardigrades are going to get eaten, their mechanism starts to work, which is again the tun state. They actually become so shriveled up and become a husk that it looks like dead prey. So the worm will go, and then how do they move on from the tun state? Well, they move on from the tun state after being rehydrated. So another rainy season means it's ready again. And sometimes even frost happens to the little bubble that the tardigrade is in. So mostly all the creatures will die in frost. But this tardigrade again enters a tun state, and due to the proteins present in the tardigrade's skin, it will actually prevent the frost from destroying the cells. Now, what will actually happen when it dies, or how will it die? How will an immortal being who can survive anything from atomic bombs or nuclear energy to the vacuum of the space and pressure or immense pressure, how will it die? Well, not by old age, of course. It's of course by some means such as the scorching sun hitting it at 150 degrees Celsius. When it doesn't have any shade and the scorching sun is hitting it at 150 degrees Celsius, it actually, the protein surrounding the skin which projects the tardigrade from the sunlight will actually melt down, and the tardigrade is vulnerable and will die even in the tun state. So that's all about the tardigrade. And another few features about the tardigrade is they have no eyes, they look like having a nozzle in their front like a sucker, and they are worm-like creature with 8 legs. So that's all about tardigrade. Now next up we have something of a shark. So we were talking about water bears, something in the water. So let's go and explore the water. And where is water seen the most? Well, of course, in oceans. And another species that I would like to talk about lives in the ocean. It is called the cookie cutter shark. Now, it's not a big shark, and when it's born, it's almost up to 3 to 5 inches. It's smaller than a human finger, and from this, at that time itself, it has a large row of teeth in its mouth, which is circular in shape. And why does it have the cookie cutter name? Well, I will actually come to that. Well, what happens when it's born? Actually, due to some issues or some kind of instincts in the body, the cookie cutter shark or the baby will actually run away from its own family, from its own siblings. Since the mother will already abandon the child, it just has to scatter from the siblings. You see, another specialty of the cookie cutters is that they have this luminescent abdomen. And thing is that when this happens or the scattering happens, it's almost like a firework, because multiple cookie cutters will be actually scattering amok. Now, another thing that happens is when this baby cookie cutter discovers that it's night. When it discovers that it's night time, then its body will instinctively take it towards the top or towards the surface, which is actually filled with nutrition. And much of the animals living in the deep will also do the same. Now, what does it do to hunt when it's just 5 inches? Well, it's so small that half of the animals of the ocean will just gobble it up without even noticing. So what does it do? Well, actually, nature gave it the mechanism, which I told you is a luminous abdomen with just a bit of a black strip on the neck area. Now what happens is that the luminescent area will actually look almost invisible to the other fish. So when they look, they just see the black shadow, which is the neck part, and hope it's a small fish and come towards it or swim towards it. But then the cookie cutter will actually come, sink its teeth in, and then bite of a chunk from the fish. Now, after it's a juvenile, it will do the same thing but to larger fishes like the tuna, and then it will go to whales, etc. Now you see, why are they called the cookie cutters and sharks? Well, they are called this because you have ever seen cookies? Well, they are big, thick and are round in shape. And I actually mentioned that cookie cutters have round or circular shaped mouths. Well, that's why they got the name. Because they will actually latch on to bigger prey, which won't even notice that they are there. Then, after latching on to the predator or to the big animal, it will actually sink its teeth in and then start to spin just using its strong neck muscles. After the spinning is done, it will take a large chunk out of the big fish's body and start eating it. The big fish might just feel some irritations, but actually a big chunk, not big, actually a big chunk in comparison to the cookie cutter will be taken out from the fish. And they can't catch the cookie cutter because the cookie cutter is just that fast and will hide in the depths. Now, This is why they are called cookie cutters. And many animals caught in the reefs actually have these symbols of cookie cutters eating a chunk out of their prey. And this can be seen mainly in whales, dolphins, etc. Yes, you heard me right. Even dolphins are prey to cookie cutters. Even though dolphins are so intelligent, they sometimes fall prey to the cookie cutters' small cuttings. And thus the cookie cutter survives. And even during when it's in adulthood, the same occurs. And the mother will again abandon the kids and the kids will have to grow again. And that's all about cookie cutter. Next, we are going to travel to the Arctic. Now, as I just told, our last animal is in the destination of the Arctics, the cold tundras, and beneath the ocean, which is filled with ice and frozen in the top area, there lives the narwhals. Narwhals are just like dolphins or whales. They need oxygen from air. So they frequently come outside to just breathe in air, then go back. Now, let's start the life cycle of a narwhal. Unlike all the mothers that I talked about in this video, the narwhal mother actually takes care of the child. When the child is born, then the narwhal mother will actually look after the child. And then the child will actually see that there is a pod of narwhals, which is its mother's pod. You see, narwhals actually create multiple pods depending upon if it is girl or a boy. And bachelors have completely different pods, and also females have a completely different pods. Now, what happens when a new child is born? It doesn't belong to a pod, right? Well, wrong, because a mother's pod will be the pod of the child, and at that time itself, multiple of the females in the pod will actually have given birth to a narwhal. Now, what does a narwhal do? Well, the baby narwhal actually starts to suckle milk from the mother narwhal, which is actually rich in many nutrients. It will help the narwhal get plump. You see, this plumpiness is actually required in the Arctic because it's so cold. Now, another thing that is special about the narwhal is that it is just a dolphin or something similar to a dolphin, but with a long tusk, just like the elephants. It is spiraling and it is big, just like unicorns. Now, the mother sometimes has tusks, and what she does is that she will poke holes into the thick ice so that there is a breathing hole where the youngsters can breathe. Now, this continues, and if there is a breathing hole, the youngsters breathe in it. And many weeks continue, and after 20 weeks, the kids are prepared. There isn't sufficient nutrients that they get from their mother, and the mother's mammary gland have stopped. So they will actually start taking lessons from the pod and start learning. They start learning about jumping into the deep and eating, catching their prey of cod, etc. The problem with the small narwhals is that they can barely stand up to 5 minutes inside the water, while the adults can swim in the water for up to 25 minutes without going into an air hole. Now, with this, the babies actually lag behind and they will have to go back up into the surface more often. But after a few while, the mother will actually let the child go. And if it is a male, the child will go, or if it is a female, it will join the mother's pod or any other female pod. Now, what will the male do? The male, not having its tusk, is actually in a pickle because it can't hunt animals which is big, and also it can't create these air holes to breathe from. So what does it do? It actually goes and finds out multiple air holes so that it can breathe through. And after some time, it will slowly start growing tusks. The females don't usually grow tusks. So they sometimes only will grow tusks. And the males will grow tusks. So they have something to look forward to. The males, fully grown males, might have tusks which extends up to their height of 8 feet. Now, This tusk is a very proud weapon of the narwhal, and the narwhal will use it many times for mating and for fighting and for defending. It fights with multiple sharks, and also the male will find a pod of its own. A male pod filled with bachelors just like him. Then, during the springtime, when it's tropical season and the temperatures go up and the ice start to melt, narwhals meet up in an area where there are multiple pods of females and males. This has been used by narwhals from ancient time, and this is something where every pod joins up, and then they will use their tusks to swift and rotate their tusks in the water as a mating dance, and then mate, which will take 6 days or so together. After that, they both won't see each other and go in their different paths. But the mother narwhal will actually look after the child and teach the child everything, and as the male will just go back to its bachelor area. Now, what are the narwhals afraid of? It's not the sharks, but actually the orcas, who are also known as the killer whales. The killer whales can actually snap the narwhal's tusk, and it can even traumatize many of the pods of the narwhals. So the narwhals are only afraid of this alpha predator, or the predator of the ocean of the Arctics. Now that is what about narwhals. Thank you.